Hello there. I enjoy this story. It's totally true. It's probably the first uh, man-made UFO spacecrafty what we've ever had. I mean, if you go back and towards India, the Famana, or i.e. we've gone in future and come back. If we dismiss all that and just think about the German spaceship craft, and it is a spaceship. This one. Um, I know some only levitate, but this actual went far as we can understand, uh, went quite high uh, just after the war. But anyway, we'll go on. Start at the bell shape. We've heard of the bell shape. It's they call it the bell basically because it is a bell. It looks like a bell. It was gravitational. It worked on, and that was the very first one. And it used to, you know, like how the pyramid shape. It used to land on top. Anyway, this guy called Ernst. Let me get his name. I like to spell it. Klein. I like to say names properly. German engineer, and he worked at a few places. Basically, this one where he's talking about, where he wrote about and told the CIA was actually in Spears Ministry of Munition, just the place where it was where there was developing secret weapons and associations to it. So it was spot on. Anyway, this guy, he didn't just describe the bell shape, it described a disc shape, actual flying disc, and he described it moving and everything else about it. It was 1945 when they first actually flew it on a test bed. It says it flew from Spears, as it did in Germany. I think it is. I'm Germany, but I'm not really sure where it is, if I'm honest. And it flew to 30,700 feet in 3 seconds. So it's remarkable. And that was the very first uh, time it flew. The actual program only started 2 years prior, I think, or 2 or 3 years. I think it started in 42. And within 2 years, they were practicing it. They were actually first tested it. And the first test was, it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't, considering only 2 years. And it didn't crash, but they moved on from that. And they actually tested the first one where they made the Phi ones and Phi twos. That's where the first ones were built. It was at Stettin, I think you call it, and that's basically where the first flying disc, not the bell shape, but the actual flying disc, originated from. And then they moved the site to there, to Spears Munition Centre. Maybe because it's more secret, I don't know, more engineers on it. And that's where they developed it. And it was guided by, not by a pilot, it was all pilotless, so there was nobody in it. It was guided by a wave. It was decided, it was just like a remote control on your TV. And that's basically what it was. And it wasn't unusual because I think it was Tesla. He came up with the remote control boat in 1920. So you can see where they've nabbed the idea from piloting or pilotless craft from that idea. So yeah, these aren't magical things what they're doing. The anti-gravity, nobody's actually released any information what type and how it was proposing to especially get to such high and great speed. But this guy, he actually did speak to CIA after the war, and as far as I know, they released him. He went and lived in Zurich, where I think he ended his years up to about 1979, 78, 80, something like that, well, late on. So he lived all his life there. But he described it fully. He described that there were two sizes of dimensions to it. Can't speak as always. One's 52 feet, and I wrote it down. Yeah, one was 52 feet. I think, oh, there we are, 138 feet in diameter. I mean, that is big. Which is, I like the size of that because quite often when you see, and people talk about the Foo Fighters, end of the war, that's what they were, 150 feet to about 140 odd feet long, what wide, and it matches up to what we see in history around the 40s and 50s and 60s, spot on. And when you think of the speed, what it can do, he suggests it could do over 2,000 miles per hour at that time level. So that was incredibly fast, and no doubt, straight after the war, probably 50s or 60s, they would have modified that to such an extent. Um, the technology, they had the whole world to grab the technology where humans were uh, couldn't. But they did a remarkable job, I have to say. And it's a true story. It really is. I mean, we've all heard about the bell. There's old black and white pictures of it somewhere. And but the actual spacecraft itself is not so popular. I wonder why? But it did. It was there. And this guy actually explained to the CIA. I think 40s, early 50s. I can't remember. And they reported it. It came out. Probably disclosed the files, but the files are out. Been out some time. So they are there. It doesn't explain what propels it though, just as anti-gravity. So they do keep that as a miss. I mean, there's lots of stories why Roswell. They always say the Russians grabbed other scientists from Germany, and obviously von Braun, what was his name? God, the German Nazi went to NASA. But I always thought the rockets, what they made from NASA, was just a show, just to show we're doing something. But I think the really real McCoy are these. You're not going to show your best stuff, are you? And the one in Roswell, even though I'm a big UFO fan, I have a feeling that was probably a man-made, either probably from Russia, um, or UK, or somewhere, America, somewhere, Italy. Because let's be honest, it's not going to be just one or two countries building them. They're all going to have a go at it. So yeah, and when you think about Italy as well, you think about Marconi worked with uh, Tesla, and Tesla is so knowledgeable. And one of the experiments, a group experiments, what Tesla was, sorry, Marconi was doing in between the wartime was propulsion systems and spacecraft. And that was known as the X Factor, X Factor, X Project, X Factor. That's a thing on TV, isn't it? X Project. And when there's a story when going off a tangent, but it is related because uh, when he got popular, old Mr. Marconi, when he left Tesla, the British grabbed him and he ended up working over here for years. But one of the stories I do like about it, it's not very popular. We've all heard Flash Gordon, the black and white films, and it uses the death ray gun. Well, the death ray gun never existed until Marconi built a radio for a huge, a big as two semi-detached houses for the Vatican, so they could speak to other people. And you will heard the story where he kept sending the frequency off and hitting the wheelbarrow and bouncing back. And that's where radar comes from and everything else. But another story which isn't so popular is when the Vatican complaining to go back because it wasn't working right. He mucked about with it, and he's supposed to kill some cattle, sheep, I don't know, somewhere. Anyway, Mussolini heard about this and sent his wife to coax him back to Italy, keep him here because he had the arts for his wife. It turns out, and but obviously history proved we had him first, and but that just shows how many people have been working on spacecraft and propulsion system, even in the wartime. It wasn't just the Germans. No, a lot of them doing it. UK and no doubt America as well. And so they're all having a go. So it's not. It just happened to be we speak about the German one because obviously they got captured and they couldn't keep it secret. Whether it's the better one, I don't quite know. It may be a good one, but I'm not sure if it was the best. We're not going to hear it, are we? But it's certainly the Mr. What's his name again? Gosh, I can't say names. I really can't. Klein. Klein. I say described it flying up to 30,700 feet in 3 seconds. And there were two types, 52, 138 foot in diameter. So these are big things. Yeah. So there was capable, weren't they? But you can see where they've come from. When people talk about the Foo Fighters in 40s, and it's exactly one of those. And what I do like about it, when you think about UFO, the technology from the 40s to now, you can actually physically see how the technology changes as if we built it. But some technology we can't. We can see it for bright lights flashing. Now that is different. That is somebody else. But a lot of the technology, as you can see, how it's progressed over 70, 80 years. You can think, oh wow, you can see how that's come from that, and this is definitely the one of the first things, if not the first one. Yeah, but it's totally true. Yeah, and so yes, humans did have a spaceship that was capable, because this thing, even though he described it going at 30,000 feet, it was described years, about 1950s, hitting way above that. But try getting the papers on that, it'd be next to nothing. Yeah, could have, wouldn't it? Yeah, but like say, if you can get to 30,000 feet, it doesn't take a bright spot to realise you can be anti-gravity and go into space. And watching space, it's easier to fly. Don't forget, and that's where they'd be aiming at. So how long have they had these things? Makes you think, doesn't it? If you get a chance, it's called the German flying saucer. Not much imagination, is it? And it's a German engineer, Herr. His surname is Klein, and he employed in Speer's Minister of Munitions. So yeah, this thing's on him. It just doesn't come up very popular. Like when people had that thing in Pentagon of a year. None of this will get mentioned. I'm not going to mention. Oh, by the way, we've been building them since 40s. No, it's just you get some body talks and say, well, yeah, as if they're doing the job and letting up fires out, but they don't, do they? Really don't. No. But I hope you enjoyed that. It's not UFO, but in many ways it is, because what we've seen over many years is one of these blinking things. Yeah. So still identify. I mean, is it the same proportion as the flying triangle? That's gosh, that's something that's bothered me for many years. It's something to do with anti-gravity. I mean, I'm quite aware of proportion, but this one bamboozles me. Don't know. Maybe not meant to know it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. It's but I'd love to see one. If anyone's got any pictures on this thing, I mean, just so I can have a quick look, and that'd be brilliant. If I've got any proper pictures that come up to me, and I can show you, I will. But there'll be somebody saying, "Oh, don't pass it on," they're like killjoys. Anyway, God bless. I hope you enjoy it. If you get a chance to subscribe, brilliant. If not, don't worry about it. Anyway, thank you. God bless. Bye.